Well, we're just going to go along.
Booker, all that you see in your books and your movies, this is a Booker. All that you see in your books and your movies, all your myths, all your stories, we put into your subconscious. Mud puppet, your ugly bag of water. It's not who you are, but that's okay because it makes it easier for us to manipulate you. We just suck on your anxiety. It feeds us. When you have wars and kill each other, it's like orgasm for us. And those lucky bastards who try.
Oh, hey there, guys. How you doing? This is your sensei, Bob. Can you hear me? Well, it's good to be What's enemy? What is that? That is when a small group of oligarchs rule the world. And that's what we got now. What's shaking? Bacon. You know. Let's see what else we can get here.
And bring forth love's co-creation. Well, they're just lucky bastards, we can't do much about them. And
That's
we realize, in a way, they serve love's co-creation.
As we do.
And so do we. Because without the yin and the yang.
Yeah, the yin and the yang. So, in this neck of the woods of the deep green, the internet is kind of collapsing. I had to drive 40 miles. And even in this place that has a really good connection, the connection's not so good. I don't even know if you're listening or hearing or knowing or being part of anything. But that's okay. It's a beautiful day, and I'm here with you. And it's now 3 minutes, and I'm going to meditate. So let's meditate together. Live chat.
Hi there. How are you? I'm good. You? so much. Catch those, make sure I got them correct.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Hey, Bobby. Kim Tracy, where's your dad? Someone's gonna make that for you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
And how was the day later? I think I got back.
We're still doing fine taking. I'll put it in there.
Oh, yeah, just figured it down.
There you go. Okay, not a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jeff.
I have a doctor's appointment next week, and I'd like to come and visit this weekend. I would arrive Sunday.
MCLEAN.
I would stay until Wednesday or Thursday. We'll just see how things go. You tell me whether that's okay, because I'll change all of my plans because I have no place to stay. Okay? I tried to call you a few times and you didn't answer the phone. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? So, hegemony, do you know what that is?
I never get to see you. This is great. I'm having oral surgery tomorrow, so.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, uh-oh. That sounds dirty to me.
Yeah, I would never come to the library. Okay, folks.
Mm-hmm. 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 I'm looking for something to show you. Hmm. The digital world. Do 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 do. Hegemony, anyone? You know what's going on? So, back in 1980,
Providing American workers with paid sick leave and paid family medical leave. Only 20%. At no cost to employers. And free testing for those who need it. We just have legislation that will provide massive relief to small businesses and affected industries and give direct payments to our great workers and hardworking mountain camels. It's never did anything like we're doing on the hill right now. They're negotiating.
That right there is his enemy. Meaning we live in a comic book world, right? And back in 1988, I went to Brazil to build a disco in a place called Búzios, which is a little peninsula about 60 miles, sticks out into the Atlantic. It's about 200 miles due north of the coast from Rio. And I got there, and getting from New York to landing and seeing people who wanted to have me build this thing was, you know, it's an hour story, but I'll just say it was very similar to when Princess Leia dressed as a mercenary to go into the lair of uh, Jabba the Hutt to get Han Solo out of the Corbinite. And so I basically built this thing, and it was Buzios is a kind of backwater place, but very, very. It's super tourist, and it's all about the um, Euro scum. And in that, what makes Buzios, where the money came from to build it, the lady who was Jabba the Hutt, and she was sitting on this pile of pillows. So lawyers said, "Don't ever look her in the eye." And this is straight out of Star Wars. I mean, all the people hanging out, this big slimy woman, um, basically draped in a towel, was eating some slimy thing out of a bowl, and I saw the trap door was right there, so I didn't step on it. And anyway, I looked her in the eye, and she looked me in the eye, and everyone's like looking straight up at the feet, and she started to laugh, and she go, "Oh," and she only spoke Portuguese, but the lawyer said, she seems to be happy with you. Down into town over to where the fisherman lived, he went to a house, and he said, and he drove away. And everyone's like crying, and he, you know, in a chair and can't move, and they don't have a wheelchair for him, and the chair has a hole in it, so he can just pinch a loaf right through the chair. And I don't speak Portuguese, and I go, wait, no, because he told him to go live in like the fisherman's, place over there. And I said, no, because there were like 8 kids and 4 grown-ups and grandpa, and I said, no. And one of them says, oh, I speak English, and she worked in a hotel. And I said, listen, I can't, but you're the guy, you're going to build the place and da. We've heard all about you. And I said, no. I'm not throwing you out of this house, but you're a white man. And I said, you're a human being. um, uh, anyway, so I said, I'll go live in a fisherman's hut. And, the fisherman's hut was I liked it. It was right on the water, and there was a dock and went underwater. It was like my deck, and it was quite nice. And they, cleaned it all up inside and threw all the crap out, and dragged in a table and a chair and a nice chair, and you know the there was electricity, but it wasn't on, and they dragged in a really nice bed, the nicest bed in the house, I guess. Put it there and put screen all around it, right? And put screen up over the windows and the doors, and there was a fan overhead. And so I said, electricity? And she goes, oh, hold on. And she had her brother come in, and he had this big wooden pole, and he took the wires off the side of the house and he just, draped them on the power line over there, and bingo. So all I really wanted was a fan. The fan was very nice, and there was a lamp on the table, and they brought in a little Coleman stove, and it was great. And they had this kind of cistern with water, and they kind of put some water into it so I could, you know, uh, you know, I didn't use the facilities there because it just went right into the water, right where, like right there. So I didn't do that. Anyway, so I built the disco, and it was right on the beach, and I built another disco in Jamaica in the grill called Rick's. Go Google that. And that I kind of went there because a friend of mine had a cousin who was in Philly who bought this beautiful house that a doctor built. And, they told the doctor, oh, the electricity and water will be here any day now. And that was like 8 years ago. And so this guy bought the place for nothing, had a swimming pool, it was right on the water. And, Jamaica, it's a volcanic island, and so there's only two beaches: Negril, which no one went to because it was on the wrong side of the island, and Ocho Rios, which is where all the rich Europeans went to. And so anyway, and there was Mrs. Brown who owned a whole friggin' beach, and the intrepid white tourists, a handful would come, and she would rent them tents on the beach and fix them meals, and that was their tourist money. So anyway, this doctor, my friend brought me there because my friend told his cousin that I could get him electricity. So there, and I looked around. I said, so what do you want to do with this place? Really, what you should turn this thing to, and that is a nightclub. I read his palm, and he goes, that's exactly what I've always wanted to do. But my mother made me become a doctor, and then I bought this place from my boss, and he sold it to me for nothing, like $15,000, and it was a beautiful house. I mean, it's like 5 bedrooms, bathrooms, terracotta floor, everything was concrete, and it was a swimming pool, and the patio around the swimming pool went right to the edge of the water, and the water was down 20 feet, and so I said, let us figure out what's going on in this town. And then from there, we can figure out what to do. And so we basically went and met Mrs. Brown, and she cooked us a meal, and she figured out that I was a smart young lad. And so she goes, what are you boys doing that in the doctor's house? And he goes, well, I'm a doctor too, and I bought the place, and I'm not quite sure. And he read my palm, and he said that I should make it into a nightclub. And Mrs. Brown was like, wow, read my palm. So I did, and she said, do you do tarots? And I said, yep. And she goes, I have a deck. So I did tarot, and she did tarot, and we became famous friends. Anyway, so bottom line was, I said, this is an amazing place. All it needs is a little spunking up, and some people, and out there in the world will come flocking here. And she said, "Oh well, that's." So she got a group of men and boys and women who were, builders, concrete guys and thatch hut guys and carpenter guys. And what you need here is a tiki bar. And she goes, what? I said, well, you do everything nice on the beach, but wouldn't it be nice to have a place right on the beach, right in the water, and have a bar and have people come? You could have a kitchen so you don't have to cook at home and drag all the way here. And she goes, yes, yes. So, I sit and this is the Grill Jamaica, Mrs. Brown, right? And so we start working on that. And I'm living at the doctor's place. And it's really beautiful. There's, we just have candles and this and that. And and so I then see where the nearest power is, and it's like 50 miles away. And it's big high tension lines. It's like not going to grill anytime soon. And so I basically said, okay, this means we're going to have to make it with alternative, and that's right up my alley. So um, the guys are building away on the tiki hut, and so and Mrs. Brown has a car, and the young doctor doesn't, and so the young doctor, and and we take my friend from New York who brought me there. He had to get back to work, and he stayed there 2 weeks, and just starting to move, we drove him to the airport, and then we went to Kingston and went to where the shipyards are, and and I went around. We went around and we looked and looked and found, where they sell stuff like diesel engines and tugboat batteries and all kinds of stuff. And I explained to this one mechanic guy, along with Mrs. Brown, kind of interpreting patois, and basically said, this is kind of what I want to do. I need some really deep cell batteries, things that start up diesel engines of tugboats. I need some kind of either photocell or wind. And he goes, wind. We have wind. And guys who have sailboats have these things called wind jammers that are actually very efficient and charge batteries. They put out some decent current. And so I got a bunch of those, and I got ones that were brand new, that brand new ones they all wanted like $800 for. The ones that were kind of busted up and they hit around for parts, I bought for $20 a piece, and I bought about 20 of them, and had enough parts to get 4 or 5 to really work. So, we and then we went and got 12 and 24 volt lights, and also an inverter. And so we dropped the majority of the stuff at Mrs. Brown's, and we put them on and the tiki house is real. I mean, the tiki house was big. It was about 4,000 square feet of teak wood for a floor. They cut it down in the woods and dragged it over there, and cut it by hand with these big saws to make boards, like better than any kind of treated lumber. Anyway, so they built this big deck and then a big marina, and went out into the water a good deal, and we put a thatch. We, not me. They put a thatch roof on, and we put a big circular bar there, right? And we put the kitchen right in there, and had the open hood with a take the cooking stuff out of the place, and they used green thatch so it wouldn't catch fire around that. And like within, right? And to begin with, there's nobody there, but within a month or so, and then she started building little decks and little thatched, bungalows that she'd rent out like a motel, and she was doing good. And she had guys, delivering these samosas, these kind of little pies with meat and vegetables in them, and they had omelets, um, psilocybin omelets, and and she had a drugstore. She had this kind right next to the thing, um, and it was just a like little shack, and they, she could get anything. She got tons of quaaludes, and it was she didn't have to be a doctor or anything, but legally she could sell this stuff there, whereas she couldn't sell rolling papers. But marijuana, that was as long as it was down low, it was not a big deal. And the mushrooms, the old ladies would go up there and pick them out of the cow pies in the early mornings and come down and make magic mushroom omelets that were just unbelievably tasty. And boy, they put a different edge on your. So by the third month we're there, the Mrs. Brown is up and she runs everything. She owns everything. To Madame in Bugios, Brazil, but nice. And because she called her auntie, and so I then turned my and we were slowly figuring out what to do with this beautiful house, and I said, let's turn the swimming pool into the dance floor and the bar, because it had a big patio all the way around, but it was like restricted by this volcanic stuff. The thing was built right into it, and the house looked right out onto the ocean. It was beautiful. And I said, we're going to get the boys, and we're going to chink out steps down the water, and we're going to have a swimming platform, and a diving platform because it was really deep right at the edge. You know, so 10 foot you could dive in and get on the platform and then come up the steps. And again, go to the internet and Rick's Cafe Bar um, in the grill. Hey there, sweetheart. I hope so. Every time I look, it says $3.99. It's like unbelievable. Anyway, so we then, get working on the docks place, and it's McDonald's and Burger King. And Mrs. Brown realized that if Rick's got up and running and was a hot spot, it would help her. That she had all the rental properties and the tiki bar and the marina, and so um, she was all supportive. So again, we went back to Kingston. I went back to the um, shipbuilding yards and got more batteries and more this and more that. And then I said, so where does the people who have lots of money, 4 and 20 next goal? That's right, Anthony. Let's get more folks because then my algorithm, more people would see this. Anyway, so we went over to another shipyard, which was just for really rich people's yachts, right? And I told them what I wanted, and they not only that, they had 24-volt ice machines and 24-volt slushy machines, like to make margaritas. I said, "Oh wow, Mrs. Brown, this is you're gonna need if you have ice and slushies, you're gonna make a fortune." And same with the Doc. So we got a whole bunch of ice machines and a whole because basically Doc and Mrs. Brown kind of partnered up. They were separate, but they were gonna you know build a little cantina where you could buy stuff, like toothpaste and tampons and batteries and ice and other sundries for the tourists, and move the drugstore into there to give it a more semblance of like it was a Rite Aid or something or Walmart's, and so we built that, and there were all these windjammers all over it, and a ton of deep cell 24-volt batteries, and we were making tons of ice, and we put the thing right where there was a stream, really beautiful stream, clean water coming down that's where everyone got their water. We built a little dam, and then we kind of piped water up to over to Rick's and into tiki bars, and now they had water, ice, slushy machine, lights, and and they had a stage, and they had reggae music, right? And we went up to one of her nephews, who was my number one guy. Um, he was kind of Rastafari, and he took me up to like the first or second day I was there. He goes, "Do you smoke?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Do you want some?" I said, "Sure." $5. I gave him $5, and he comes back and he comes. And then I started giving that to the tourists, giving it to him, right, and then turning them on to him, and so anyway, I was like that linchpin of the economy of Negril, where it went from like no one even knew it existed to start being whoa. So by the third month, Rick's was open, and Doc stopped being Doc, and he became Rick, right? And he would wear this white. He looked just like, the guy who played Rick in Casablanca, and he played it right, played that to the hilt. And I was there almost a year, and by that time I was a dude, and I was giving massages on the beach to the tourists, and reading their palms and their runes and their, and I would get $10, um, a massage and everything. I thought it was this, and then whatever they wanted to tip me, so I could make easy every day I did that, and I'd only work in the mornings and in the afternoons because between 11 and 2 or 3 in the afternoon it was too hot to do that. Even if you had an umbrella, it was still too hot. But these crazy people would be out there in the sun. Anyway, I would do that. I would make at least $100, right? But sometimes it was good. If I did a lot of people, I could make, and they tipped me well. I could make two, three, four. One time I made $500. It was like I was like, Rockefeller. I just kind of, had this money, and like I couldn't buy anything. Everyone gave me everything. So I would just give them money, right? Horganomy, horganomy, horgonomy. It is, hegemony, hegemony. You know what that word is? Hegemony. Its first world problems. That is when you rule everything, and you will do. I mean, see, everyone's talking about Israel and Palestine. All that is the mirror of the problem. It's not the problem. And how in Negril, I brought the best out of everyone, and it was beautiful. That year I spent there was beautiful. And like I said, by the time I I got deported. So, I set everything a roll. The tiki bar, Mrs. Brown was making money hands over fists. The tourists were happy. Rick, the doctor, was, he was happy. He finally was happy. Nice Jewish boy, finally happy. His mother never going to be there. He was Rick. They had, it was a disco. They had, the roulette wheel. They had, it was just like Casablanca. And, and I was the dude. I was Owl. The only thing I was doing was giving massages and readings on the beach. And every day I would find a new girlfriend from that, right? And I had an apartment at in Rick's. I had my own upstairs. Over in the corner where the um, it was facing south, and I saw north and east. I mean east and west. So watched the sun rise and the sun set, and it was beautiful as way. It was like an attic, and it had a big dormer, right? And it had a back um, concrete steps up there. It was built to be a like separate little apartment, and that was my one hangout. And Mrs. Brown, she built herself a really big hacienda up on the one, I guess, which side is that? The east side of the beach, and so everyone could see it, and really beautiful. And I wired it up for her, and she had real, it was high enough on the hill. It wasn't on the beach. I mean, it was on the beach, but it was about 100 feet above the beach on this hill that kind of went up into the mountains, up into red ground. And she put it there. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. And we actually put in a septic tank and a real toilet. And again, there was a kind of stream coming by our place, so we built a little dam so she could have water for the toilet. And we had actually a desalinizer. I mean, a reverse osmosis kind of thing. Um, that was her drinking water. I mean, and she would bottle that up and sell it. This lady, she could make money anything. And so we were, I was her idea guy and made it happen guy, and she had the juice to do it. So the third time when we built her house, we went to Kingston, and we stayed with her sister, who was a lawyer, and big time lawyer. And this was at the time when the politics and iffy, and there were death squads and stuff like that, and the CIA was there, and every time something goes down, the CIA seems to be there, and they are basically hegemony, right? And what was the best point of view of hegemony is go read the Pikes-Seco document about splitting up Palestine. Go read the Balfour Declaration, right? And this is like before World War One. This goes down, like in the 1890s. I mean, this is all already in the books. Everything is scripted. Nothing just happens. That oil pipeline thing, scripted. I would say that was a B plan to see how people would act, right? and they acted poorly, and I acted poorly, meaning it was going down. I knew it was going down. I just stayed in the deep green. But one day I went out, and man, people were going nuts in North Carolina and all around me, and there were lines, and people were screaming at each other. And I drove over the border and went to this little holler gas station I knew about. I decided it's not happening there, and it was. And they were selling gas for $7 a gallon, and the line was all the way up the road. And these holler guys had not only were the gas station making $7, but they were uh, blocking the tanks. Only their friends could get gas. So I kind of pulled by there, and I had a quarter tank or an eighth of a tank, enough to go back home and just wait till this. And it didn't, and so I kind of blocking the tanks where there was wide enough. So on the county road, I did a U-E and backed in, and I came about that close to this guy's truck, and it was a crappy truck, like a 1980 something. You hit my truck, I'll kill you. And I was like, and I know this guy. I go, Bob, what are you talking about? And then I started screaming at him, and I was getting, I got out of the car, and because there was no room, I fell over, and I didn't break anything, but I could have. I'm like a teacup, and there I was pumping gas, but it was $7 a gallon, and they only let you get $20 worth. So anyway, I got a little bit above almost half the tank, and I drove home. And a couple of hours later, I had almost half a tank, so I went and had breakfast at the thing, and there was Bob. He came over, and he's not a guy to apologize. He's a big, burly, he's got a big stars and bars on his truck, and he came over and said, "Hey, Al, I want to apologize." I said, "I should apologize. What I did was outside of my what I." Do it's He goes, "What happened? How did we act that way?" That was it. That was what that oil thing was about, testing. Yep, it was fun. So and that was the 70s when I was in the grill. And when I was in Buzios, um, Brazil, that was the 80s, 88. And so again, I went in to Buzios. They heard about I had sparked the Edison Theater into Xenons, the disco, and they called me up from Brazil and said, "Hey, come and do this." So I said, "Pay me a lot of money, I'll do it. Send me an airplane ticket and 500 in cash just to get there, and pick me up at the airport with the limousine," and they did. And the guy in the limousine, he from his belly button up wore a chauffeur. He had a white shirt, black tie, hat, and like welder's glasses. And on the down low, he had shorts that were like all beat up, and no shoes. He had feet that looked like shoes. And so the lawyer picked me up at customs and took me up there, and he had a bucket of champagne on ice and some caviar, and we took off, and we rode up and down this road to Buzios from Rio, and there were all these trucks lined up going up these big hills, and he would just fly by them, and you couldn't tell whether it said sign in Portuguese, no passing, and double yellow line. They just flew right by these things, and every time just make it in front of the front truck, and it was like, and that was my first few hours in there. Then I meet Madame, who looks like a Jabba the Hutt, and her house looks like straight out of Star Wars. Anyway, so and they take me to the fisherman's town to um, live, and they throw the people out because this lady, she owned everything in that town and everybody, and she owned the police. And that was the second guy I met. First the lawyer, then her, and then he took me to the policeman, and the big policeman said, "Oh, oh, oh, you're the man. You're the man." I said, "Yeah, I'm the man." He goes, big men are good. And by this time, I was a pretty big guy. I was probably twice what I am now. Anyway, he goes, you, you need gun? And he opened up a drawer and it was full of guns. And I said, no, I don't need a gun. He goes, well, you don't. You have me. I'll protect you. Deep green is amazingly beautiful. I mean, it is heaven plus. John wants me to come live with him, and I don't know. I mean, I have some doctoring. I need to go visit. So if I can go visit John and see how he's doing, and stay there a few days while I go visit doctors, um, and that'll be good. But if not, I'll just reschedule and stay in the deep green. And friends have come visit. I'm going to have more friends towards the end of June, but I had a lot of friends come visit about a week ago, and people keep coming by who are in the neighborhood and visit. So um, it's all been good. Let's see, 12:21. I'll talk some more. I'll finish all these stories. So I build. They show me. So I don't take the house away from the Fisher guy. I stay in the Fisher place, and one of the works in one of the hotels there. She speaks English, so and she's quite nice and attractive, and the whole family is nice and attractive. And her little brother, he goes, this is we call him Tattoo, like from the TV show, right? And I said, okay, Tattoo. So and he kind of speaks English enough. He understands English and he speaks it relatively to get by. But she goes, well, he doesn't speak English as well as I do, but because I actually went to school and none of my brothers and sisters have yet, and because I was a really smart one, so they put the energy. The madame, the lady who owned everything, she said, "You're going to school. You're gonna, work in my hotel." And she was, I don't want to say the accountant, but she kind of ran the billing, and other things. She was very, very on top of it. And Marguerite, and so and she sewed very well. She made these really beautiful shirts and dresses, and she had a little dress stop in a hotel. I mean, she was like Mrs. Brown. She any way she could make money, she did. And so anyway, I had my man Tattoo, and you know, the lady who worked at the oldest daughter who worked at the hotel. So anyway, so she goes, okay. So they fixed it up. I mean, like that. They cleaned the whole thing up. They put a nice bed. The kid put the electric wires on the high voltage. I was like, whoa! I don't even know if I would do that. And so, within 4 hours, I had a really nice place, much nicer than that house that they all were living in. I wasn't going to throw them out of their house. Anyway, that got around. Anyway, so I had Tattoo with me all the time. He was like my K9 from Doctor Who, and and he was like really, I remember one guy, this cool guy, was going to change everything. And so anyway, next day, the lawyer and the policeman came by in the police car, and me and Tattoo got in, and they took us over to where they wanted the disco built. And it was a beautiful beach. One of the only, this is a peninsula, but 90 miles long, and this is one of the only beaches you couldn't really easily get to because it was a kind of cliff all the way around. And I said, "You want to? Well, you're gonna have to build a road." "Oh, no problem. We're gonna build a road." I said, "Okay." So I'm gonna go talk to Madame, and we're going to suss out what she wants, right, Mr. Lawyer? You're gonna take me up there? Yep. So the four of us went. Even Tattoo went. And they says, we'll throw him out of the car while it's. I said, no, he's my man. He's with me. He's got my back. I don't know if I can trust you too. But I always have your back. So went up there, sussed it out. We had a beautiful lunch on her thing, and she looked like she lost some weight. I've been there a week, and it's the first time I see her again. And she goes, I hear that you're really just changing. Everyone seems to be so much happier because she was like, whoosh, you know, I said, yeah, you know, we're gonna make you a lot of money. We're gonna change this whole place so it works better. And she goes, I'm up for that. I never said I wasn't. I said, okay. So we discussed, and she goes, I saw I want you to do what you did in, Xenons here. I said, well, that's nice, but this ain't New York City, and this ain't, we're going to do what fits Buzios. And I've gone and looked at other places. You have Sammy's, and there were about five other discos. That she owned them too, but they were right along the strip, right? Which is beautiful. I mean, it's like France, this big main road made out of cobblestones, and you really can't drive that. You can deliver, trucks could come and deliver stuff, but people didn't, you left, people didn't have cars, they took a bus there or had the limo. Then they had further down on the beach, really nice little cabins, and, they could facilitate, 2,000 tourists easy, and, it's, big, 60-mile long peninsula, about 10 miles wide, and this big hacienda that you could see kind of, but you couldn't see it. And the road came down and went all the way around and went past the fishermen's village and then went out by where they wanted to build that beach where they wanted to build, the disco. And then the road came back up the other side and popped into that road that went to the main road. Oh, there we go. Hey, buddy. Hey, hey. Yep. Where are you?
Well, I'm outside of a tire place. They're fixing my tire.
Okay.
So I am walking on the side of this road, and I thought I'd try to call you.
Okay. So I'm doing a live chat. So you're my guest here on Dreamy Dreamland. Welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And I have this is Dr. S, a noted physicist, astro scientist, and a guru of everything. Would that fit? Also a great musician. Would that
Well,
fit?
that means I'm overqualified for.
No, you're just right.
Okay, well, let's clean this shit up then.
Yes, I have a first world problem. So, what being the janitor doctor? What would you say the janitorial first world problems are?
Well, firstly, you have to disinfect the aorta and the sphincter.
And yeah, there's a whole lot of shit that has to be cleaned up. You're so right about that. And have you noticed that? The good example of a politician who's looking like he's eating his own shit is Mitch McConnell.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's got a sort of a sort of a. You've heard of the shit-eating grin, right? So he's got this other thing going on.
Well, that double chin, it's like he's holding it all down there, It goes all the way up to his neck. He has no stomach or esophagus. It's just one big long thing. He's like what he is he's a worm. That's kind of description of a worm, right? Mouth, anus, and sphincter in between.
Yeah, I've seen him somewhere before. Where have I seen him? It's some kind of children's fairy tale, or Hansel and Gretel, or
yes,
Grimm's fairy tale. Some character from some, under a bridge or something.
Right. Now, they're all pretty under the bridge. I mean, we have the best legislators, all the way from president to dog catcher. They're all corrupt. They're all on the take.
Are we really on the air?
We're really on the air. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
No, that's great. It's great that you. It's always nice to have calling guests. I have people on. So, you guys, Anthony, anyone has a question to ask a Dr. Janitor here? So, how's Colorado doing?
Well, this spring is it's been cooler than usual, and yesterday it looked like it was going to rain, but
It's really quite amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
good for you.
yeah. So, and you're right about the coldness. Did you ever see the movie or read the book, The Day After Tomorrow?
Was that the thing in the 1980s where like Kansas got a nuclear bomb or something?
No, it was in the 80s, but it was written by Art Bell and another guy. And it was about the global changes, but instead of it got really warm, but it melted the poles. So it changed the salinity from water up to from the Gulf of Mexico and Africa up into the northern parts, what New York and Europe, and like a light switch, it froze solid.
Oh wow!
Dennis Quaid was in that, and that's exactly what's happening right now. The salinity of the Atlantic Ocean is going less and less, and the train that brings the warm water up from Africa into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico East Coast, and then over to Ireland and Europe, it's slowing down, and it could stop like a light switch. And if it does, the mean temperature of the East Coast and Europe, which is the mean temperature, is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, would go to about 20 below zero Fahrenheit, like a light switch.
Damn.
Yeah.
Now wait, is this are we on the verge of a little ice age?
Yes, that's
Or
it.
is that happening?
Yes, and that's why you're feeling cold, and that's what happened to Texas.
Uh-huh.
And they've done nothing. I mean, they just had a little wake up call this winter. It got so cold, they were like seconds from crashing their electric grid. And if they did, it would have had a back spill that they'd still not have electricity now.
Yeah, they're
And
not used to.
they haven't done anything about it. That was January, and here it is May, and they haven't even put together a committee to study what happened.
Huh.
Because if they did, they'd have to report that all our utilities have been decontrolled to the point where, Mo, Larry, and Curly are running our utilities.
Yeah. Keystone Cops.
Yep, exactly.
Each other's stuff.
Yep. It's like when the Three Stooges built a house and and water came out of the kitchen faucet. That's kind of where they're at.
So, you said something a few days ago. I think it was a Saturday, maybe. Something about, and you were referencing Cliff High.
Right.
Predicting something about, was it June or July that
the internet will, yes, the solar wind hack, oil pipeline hack, which was something else. It was not what they said it was, because back in the 70s, I worked for this electric company where I pretty much did transmission work. And I mostly worked in New Mexico, at Los Alamos and San Diego and Kirkland Air Force Base. And I also worked at the Four Corners for Kern McGee and United Technologies. And then he sent me up to Oklahoma to the oil fields. And the oil companies didn't get electricity from the county because they couldn't trust it. So they had their own lines. And I worked on pipelines, and I worked on pump stations, right? And so I learned about basically pipelines. They are amazing technology because they just don't run crude through it. They run gasoline, jet fuel on the same pipe. And they have this way of density of materials, sending chunks of it, like 100 miles worth of gasoline, 100 miles. And every 20 to 50 miles, there will be a tank farm. And and they would keep those tanks tipped up because anything happened to the pipeline, then because all the truck gasoline or jet fuel or home heating oil from the tank farms, and then they because you don't have the pipeline go straight to your house. A truck to a problem with the pipeline, they would still have 5 weeks of fuel. So the,
Okay.
so the fact that this thing, see how people would relate to losing something that they were used to. So basically, everything else is going to stop. Our utilities will end. Our our cars won't work. you know. And
Well,
this,
everything runs on credit
yes, right,
and just-in-time delivery systems. And
Right.
man,
yeah,
it's so. This is the dawning of the age of precarious.
yes,
Yeah.
precarious. I like that, Doc. Yeah, I like that.
So,
So Anthony H says it's very cold here in England this year, right? So he's basically like the Caribbean. All
so
around.
do you near Bristol?
Yes, I live near Bristol. Yes, I live about
Okay.
about 50, 60 miles to Bristol.
Okay.
So that's where I live.
Up in the corner there.
Yeah, up in the corner.
All right.
And that's, I live right where Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky and West Virginia all come together. It is the squirreliest place you'd ever want to meet. I mean, the energetics are, and I have this gigantic chunk of, I don't even know what kind of metal to call it, but it runs from Toronto to Florida Panhandle and the Caribbean. It's at one of major ley lines, and it goes right through my backyard. And it's in my backyard is one of the very few places where it's unearthed. Meaning, I live in a sawtooth mountain range, so I'm right where a place where normally it would be under 400 or 500 feet of dirt, but right at a place where it kind of cruises right through my backyard for about 600 feet, and what's exposed is about 300, about 40 feet high and about 20 feet wide,
Cool.
and it
You
looks
can plug an orgone accumulator into it.
yes. Oh, I played around a little bit with it, but it is so juicy that, and I don't have all of my wherewithal to deal with. It's not like I have my. It's not like 1971 when I was living in Nikola Tesla's Montauk facility, and there was stuff all over the place that I could play with, and I don't want to open up some kind of door and have things come walking through. I mean, which things already do walk through. There where I'm at, there are a lot of very interesting things visiting me.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a guy who understands this stuff, so I'm respectful.
Definitely. Yeah. It's not a toy.
It's not a toy, exactly.
So no, really, some people treat it as a toy.
Oh, no kidding. I've had a number of people come visit me and who, I hear you're a mystic. I want to be a mystic too. Here's $300. Give me a piece of paper that says I'm a mystic. I said, don't work that way, buddy. And I really, the 4 or 5 people who have come and camped out and tried to study with me, they just had no respect. So this one guy stole one of my kind of sacred books. One of my, yes. And then he hasn't. I mean, he stole it. I said, listen, this book is for I'm not giving you this. This is for you to study. This is a rare book.
Yeah.
You can study it, and what I want you to do, I want you to underline things and make notes, and that's how well I know you're doing with this, right? And so he worked in Charlotte. He worked in a big corporation and blah blah blah. And so he says, "Can I take this home?" I said, "Sure, just bring it back." Well, he came back times, and it really changed him. Wow, I said, "Well, that's just world." And he hasn't really gotten in touch with me in the last 6 months.
Oh. Well, you think you could find him?
Oh, I don't know if I know what corporation he works. I could like walk into his office and say, "Hey, give me the book back," but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him learn.
Well, I hope you get book back.
I don't need the. I mean, I don't need the book. You know, it's not a big deal. I've let go everything, so it's not like I'm really. I knew that he would do this, so it's not like I didn't know he would do this. So that's
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so it's you're a little discombobulated. You haven't got your garden in. It's a little cold.